I realized like I was anxious every Monday as opposed to like looking forward to work or even neutral about it. And I felt like the stress that I have is making me less patient as a caregiver with my mom. I have less excitement about my workouts at the gym. I have less energy to be social with my friends. Knowing that that was taking a toll on my body, like I had to ask myself, is it worth it? Or I wasn't willing to pay that price. And I think that's a really personal question for everyone is like, is this worth it? I don't know yet. But right now, I'm just like so grateful that in making the leap, connections have allowed me to have.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Writer's Corner Show. Today's conversation is a real one because I'm sitting down with someone who's built her life around well-being, fitness, community, not just as a profession, but as a way of living. A wellness and fitness extraordinaire, someone who's turned her passion into practice and practice into impact. But more importantly, someone who understands what it actually takes to choose alignment over comfort. Today, I'm joined by Coach Huyen, and in this conversation, we're talking about what it really looks like to take the leap, especially when life is pulling you towards stability. This isn't one of those just go for it conversations. This is about responsibility. This is about family. This is about fear and still finding a way to move forward. And what I appreciate about this conversation is that it shows you don't need to have everything figured out to start aligning your life with what you feel like you're called to do. Now, before we get into it, I want to say this. We're really building something here with the Writer's Corner Show. And we're working to bring you more episodes, more stories, and to be a lot more consistent. But we can't do that without you. So if this show has ever made you think differently, reflect, or just feel something, take a second, subscribe, share this with someone who needs it, and stay tapped in with us. That support is what allows us to keep doing this at a high level. Now let's get into the show. It sounds like you've been doing what you've wanted to do for a long time. And then you made at some point in your life, you made the shift. What, as far as like the shift goes, what does that represent for you in your life?
Yeah, no, it's such an interesting question because I'm always curious people's like perspectives on what I put out. Because as someone who creates things and puts out content, then you could have all the intention that you want, but when people listen to it and read it or whatever it is, they might interpret it and get a whole different story.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it's interesting that you feel like I've been doing what I wanted for a while because I did feel like I made a bit of a sacrifice and made a safe choice similar to you.
Mm-hmm.
Because coming out of college, I had the option to do personal training and go full speed ahead with that, or go to Google where I did an internship.
Okay.
And the Google job was in California. My family's in Atlanta. And what really pushed me to make the decision to go to Google, even though I was super excited about my personal training brand, it was like saywhen.com, like just say when, I got you on your fitness goals. I was doing blogs, but I chose the corporate job because like, yes, Google is a great opportunity. But also the stability was a priority to me because my mom had had a stroke just the year before. And my mom was the matriarch. She raised us as a single mom, did everything. So when she had this stroke that made her unable to move the left side of her body, it just changed everything for us. And I wanted to be able to provide for her and make sure she was as comfortable as we were growing up because we weren't by any means like rich, but we weren't wanting of much because she made sure like our needs were taken care of first.
Mm-hmm.
So I just wanted to make sure she was good after this really traumatic event. And I didn't feel like I was in a place to really bet on myself with the personal training.
Gotcha.
So I chose the corporate route.
Mm-hmm.
But I think maybe why it looks like I've been doing what I've been wanting to do for a while is because I got advice really early on. I had like a mentor through this program called Management Leadership for Tomorrow. They help people of color like get into corporate jobs. But my mentor for that program, he said to be unabashed about your passions. And I at that point was a pretty abashed person. like I was like, I grew up feeling like, being quiet, not asking for too much, not doing too much in general, like be maybe seen, not heard was valued.
Mm-hmm.
So being unabashed about your passions was like a new concept to me, but it made sense because if people don't know what you care about and what you're passionate about, then how are you going to get opportunities? And I noticed that like in little moments where I would be like, I can't afford this school trip, but I really want to go. The school counselor would be like, "Oh, well, we have budget for kids who need it like you."
Right.
So like doors opened up whenever I spoke about wanting to do something, even when it like maybe didn't seem obviously in reach. So that be unabashed about your passions led me to, even in my corporate job, I was doing customer support when I first got to Google. I was literally answering
Got you.
phones and saying like, "Thanks for calling Google. This is when." But I also was hosting boot camps for my team.
Mhm.
And I did surveys for our Black Google employee network and was like, "Hey, what do folks need from a well-being perspective?"
Mhm.
And me doing that made folks see me as a wellness expert, even when I was doing customer service, even when I switched to sales. But all that work I was doing on the side, like nourishing my passion,
Mhm.
when an opportunity opened up to be a mental health promotion specialist at Google, like, and that was a whole new role, people thought I was qualified, even though I didn't have a psychology background or anything like that. But I was doing the work for free
Yeah.
while I was doing the other work. And I think that helped me um, continue to do things that I cared about and work that I wanted to do in addition to work that maybe wasn't my first choice.
Were you always making a point to find a side quest at some point that dealt with well-being and fitness?
Yeah, I definitely did because I was kind of grieving that personal training career that I thought I was going to have that was going to blow up. So even before I moved to San Francisco to take the job at Google, I looked up gyms. I called gyms and was like, "Hey, I have my CSCS. I'm about to move over there and I want a place to train." And I got a job as a personal trainer before I even moved to San Francisco in
Mhm.
that area. And I would wake up at like 4 or 5, take a client, hop on the bus, go down to Mountain View, and then work a full day, have more clients in the evening. So even though I didn't do it like full time, I was kind of bullish about like keeping one foot in the personal training fitness
Yeah.
space. Yeah.
I'm fascinated at the idea of, and let me know if I'm wrong or not,
Mhm.
of you starting off in fitness, but not feeling like that was your starting point,
Mm.
you know? Because even when you decided to go to Google, it was for something different than
Right.
the thing that you have so much love and passion for.
Hmm.
It's like once you got there, you still tried to find a way to make that home,
Yeah.
even though you was doing something that was a bit different from that.
Right.
This is a side question, but I'm curious, like in a life that you have of doing fitness for such a long time,
Yeah.
and you join Google, why is it not a thing that you recognize as a shift?
I think maybe it doesn't feel like a shift because I kept doing it even in little bits the whole time.
Okay.
Right? Like I never really stopped personal training fully.
Mhm.
Um Yeah, so I guess, like, it depends on how you define what a shift is.
Okay.
Yeah, 'cause I feel like there was a major shift when I chose to work a 9 to 5 that wasn't fitness, and go to Google, so that felt like a shift. Because at first I really thought, like, I can do this personal training business, I can get clients," but then my mom had that stroke, and I was like, "You need a salary, you need, like, something that's guaranteed." And then there was a shift when I left Google after 6 years, which we can talk about, and then even a shift a couple years later when I just started working for myself, so I think I look at those moments as shifts.
Did your family have any influence on you leaving?
I would say no. I think they had huge influence on me going to Google because the goal was stability for them, but they almost had 0 influence on me leaving just because I had a feeling that they would be a little bit nervous for me and also just wonder why, right? I had a cushy gig that I was generally happy at, so I think it would have been hard for them to make sense of
Yeah,
my decision. So that was definitely more of a decision that I made on my own.
got you.
And I think I needed to do that because a lot of my decisions, I think growing up with like a people pleaser mindset, a lot of them stemmed from what other people thought might be best or what might look like the smart decision in the eyes of other people. And this was something that I felt like in my gut was the right thing to do.
Got you. My parents just got to this country. They have a family now. They have kids, and the thing that they want for their kids the most is to be successful in work
Mhm.
in whatever corporate field. And there was pressure that was coming from my parents to do that,
Mhm.
right? So you have a passion, you're chasing a passion. The passion is very different than what I'm assuming that your parents may have seen for themselves,
Yeah.
but also see for you.
Mhm.
So was there a relief that they felt when you decided to shift from the thing that you love to the thing that's going to help you, along the way?
Yeah.
And what made them feel, if they did feel comfortable later on, what did you do to make them feel comfortable in taking that leap?
Yeah, I think when I left, I definitely very quietly told my family because they would be like, "So how's work or how's Google?" I'd be like, "Oh, I'm not there anymore." So it was something that they found out more so after the fact. And I think what made them feel a little settled is just me continuing to show up as if, my world didn't come crashing down because it didn't. I actually went from Google to a startup where I was the director of community and growth. And I jumped from Google to the startup because the startup had a mission of helping the Black community make better health decisions. And that's very aligned with my passions
Mhm.
because I just know there's a lot of things that make it hard for our communities to like take care of our own well-being. So I wanted to play a role in that. So I felt really strongly about like if I'm not working for myself quite yet, let me work for another organization that their whole focus is well-being. Yeah. So yeah, my parents, I think eventually they got to a place where they're like, she seems good. Like she's eating, she's eating,
That's fine.
she's not disheveled. I did have a moment where I shaved my head. I think like that concerned them
Okay.
a little bit, like thinking maybe it was a crisis. But overall, I think me just showing up to family, like supporting family where I could, made them feel a little bit more at ease about my career choices.
Got you.
Yeah.
Got you. That's fair. I'm gonna take that and use it with my parents because
Yeah.
because they're still on edge. For them, it would love if I continued on my journey,
Mhm.
my property management journey.
Yeah.
And it's I'm gonna be honest with you, it's a journey that has been great. It has been um, rewarding,
Yeah.
but not fulfilling.
Okay.
You know,
Yeah.
and sometimes it's difficult to be able to
Mhm.
relay that message to the people who's uh, betting on you.
Right.
But it's best. So I'll take that approach and I'll let you know if it works.
Yeah,
Okay.
I just hope that what my parents have started to tell me is that, like, at the end of the day, we also had a lot of pressure to leave the country that we were in and to make sure y'all were good. And as long as y'all are good and happy and fulfilled and like we can see that, that puts us at ease and we're gonna support you. And I guess that's something that I'm really lucky to be able
To
to
have.
say. Um yeah, so I think if you can maybe like, spend quality time with them and show them that you're happy in the decision that you made versus like cuz I think what some people might do when they have parents that are nervous about their decision is they'll go hard and try to, be successful but then they'll disappear and the parents are like, "Oh, well where did you go?" And because they don't know that you're good, then they think, "Oh man, see, he stopped doing the
Yeah.
property management, now we never see him because he has to hustle so hard, but if you take those moments to, like, be with them, I think even that can maybe put them at
Yeah.
ease a little
And
bit.
then probably my mom just told me this the other day. We I just came from home and I had a conversation with her. She just needs reassurance.
Yeah,
That's all. It's a
yeah,
5 minute talk. Just let me know.
right.
My dad, he needs a little more than reassurance. But my mom is like, I just need some reassurance. So I get it.
Right.
Do you believe in purpose?
I do believe in purpose.
Do you feel like what you're doing now in your life is your purpose?
I do feel like it is aligned with my purpose,
Mm,
and I think I hesitate to say, "This is my purpose," because I feel like I'm continuing to learn about myself and about how the world works and about what people need.
uh-huh.
So, while what I'm doing now is aligned with my purpose, I might learn that, okay, if folks need this and this is my strength and what I feel excited about getting up to do every day, then maybe it will change and shift a little bit over time.
Hmm.
So yeah, I think what I'm doing now is aligned with my goal or purpose, which I like to say that my purpose is to help people take care of themselves and each other so that we have a more loving world.
Hmm.
So I think right now in different ways I'm doing that,
Yeah.
but like I might be doing something else in the future that still aligns
That
with
still
that.
aligns, yeah. This is one of the things that I was excited I am excited to talk to you about because it's once again, it's something that's a bit different than what I'm used to hearing, right?
Mhm.
I think a lot of people when they're chasing their dreams and their goals, and also they have a job.
Mhm.
The one of the number one things that people are looking for is to find pleasure in what they do,
Mhm.
um, and safety as well,
Yeah.
right? And because of your what you did when you were working at Google,
Yeah.
and then what that turned out to be for you,
Mhm.
it seems very comparable to what you're doing now.
Yeah.
Unless you're like really paying attention, it's a bit difficult to like to be able to differentiate the two.
Mhm.
So when you were there, did you not feel like you were in your purpose? And does if you did not, like what's the deciding factor that made you want to leave something that felt so close to what you're doing now?
What comes to mind when you ask this question about just being aware and like maybe knowing whether or not I'm living in my purpose is this exercise I did in Health 101 in
Mhm.
college. They had us do this time audit where they gave you a sheet of paper. It had a bunch of lines on it for every 30 minutes of the day. And our exercise was to fill out every 30 minutes and see how we were spending it, like from sleep to waking up to eating. And this is something that when I do like well-being coaching with people, I suggest that they do this because then you really see, okay, I spend 3 hours a day on my phone, on
Yeah,
social media.
yeah.
I spend 1 hour coaching. I spend 8 hours doing customer service for Google. And then you realize, okay, if my purpose is this, but 40% of my day is elsewhere and only 5% of my day is actually directly doing something in that purpose, then maybe something needs to shift. And I think that was kind of always in the back of my mind when I was working full time in corporate America at these in sales and customer service until I got a job where my main role was to do mental health promotions. A good chunk of my time wasn't actually directly aligned with my purpose. I could stretch it. Like I could be like, okay, well, I'm doing customer support, so I'm helping someone, I'm putting money in my pocket so I can show up for family. I could stretch it to like make it aligned,
Mhm.
but it was a stretch. So I wanted to get as aligned as possible so that it didn't feel like as disconnected. Yeah.
That's it's kind of mind blowing to me because it's like you can read someone's LinkedIn um, bio and um and then like watch them make a transition in their lives
Mhm.
and think that you know the transition it didn't seem like such a big jump,
Sure.
but you know with that detail it's like how much of that person's title is reflected in the work that they actually do day to day.
Yeah.
And yeah, that might be the reason why they jump and make the leap.
Yeah, and honestly, what you see on LinkedIn to some extent, I'm not saying this in like a bad or like shady way, but to some extent it's finesse,
Yeah,
like
right.
because and I was doing the work, I just wasn't always getting paid to do the work.
Yeah.
So what you see on LinkedIn, I might be talking about well-being programming that I
Mhm.
was doing as a customer service agent, but I started doing it at that point. So I'm going to talk about it.
Yeah, yeah,
Like
absolutely.
just be like the same way this podcast is new and up and coming. You've been doing the work for a
A
while.
long
This
time.
is not day one for you, right? And all of that work should count. So I had to be really intentional, especially when I'm like applying to a director level job for them to see that it might say associate account strategist or whatever. But during that time, I was doing well-being research or whatever it is. And that is not just me saying it for the sake of saying it. That's real lived experience that happened, and makes me like actually someone who's suited to do that role. So,
Yeah, yeah. Wow, that's amazing. It's always fun and always amazing to listen to someone who has a desire to do something that they truly love, take the leap, whether it's risky or not. I know for some people who's taking that risk, they have things aligned in their lives where they can go ahead and make the jump.
mhm,
Other people only have desire.
yeah,
They only have passion to drive them and they
hmm
do what they can to chase. But that idea scares a lot of people. You know, it brews fear. And for those who are uninitiated, they just don't know how to overcome that.
yeah,
So I guess my question to you is like, what is the driving factor for you to be able to navigate through fear
hmm
and take the leap? Because it is a leap,
yeah.
you know? And then what type of security did you have or did you build for yourself to feel comfortable in taking that jump?
Yeah, great question. So I'll start with the security question because I want to acknowledge that even though I made a jump to quit my 9 to 5, I tried a lot of things to like make that 9 to 5 work first.
Okay.
Um, I also I had a fairly traditional mindset. My dad, when he gave me his Acura when I was like 17, 18, I can't remember.
Not the accurate.
Yeah, the Acura, he had it for 10 years. It had 60,000 miles on it.
Mm,
So, I came from a very, like, frugal family and had a mindset of, like, just saving money. So, even when I was working at a place where they gave us breakfast and lunch, I would pack an extra box at lunch so that I also had dinner, and I would be saving on groceries. I don't drink, so I was saving money on that, and even makeup. I bought my first little thing of blush at, like, 30.
mhm,
So, I was saving a lot of money over the years, and I think that helped me have a little bit of a nest egg over time. I also was the first one in my family to finish college and get a corporate job. I didn't know what a 401k was,
mm.
but thankfully, when we got there, people are like, max it out. Whatever you do, max out your 401k. Whatever you do, sit on that equity. I didn't know what those meant. Like, I didn't know that when you put money in a 401k and your employer puts money into it, it also grows outside of that. I was like, where'd this come from? Like,
Yeah,
when I looked at it later,
yeah.
I was like, the math isn't mathing, but I just kind of listened to that simple kind of age old advice of what to do financially in terms of saving, letting investments, like, I didn't mind them taking money out of my paycheck because they told me it would,
It would do something.
it would do
Something,
something.
yeah.
It would do something, and it did, and I'm so grateful for that. So, that's all to say I wanna acknowledge, like, a level of privilege and luck and care from community and people giving me that advice that helped me to have a little bit of stability before I made that jump.
Mm,
But even with that, I feel like people could still be in my position and, like, scared, like, "But what if this runs out? What if the stocks drop?" Like, there's so much still uncertainty that even when you have a bit of a nest egg, that can make people operate from a place of fear. And I wish I could I think I could credit, like, Bell Hooks. My favorite book is All About Love by Bell Hooks. Have you read it?
I have not, but thank
Okay.
you. I add it to my list.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
definitely recommend it, and, she, like, defines love in all of these different ways, but I try to, with a lot of my decisions, think, "Okay, am I doing this out of fear or I'm doing this out of love?"
Mm,
And if I'm doing something out of fear, that's when I have to really check myself, but, okay, what does it look like to do something out of love?
mm.
And, yeah, for me, in terms of making the jump out of corporate America, I felt like I could show up better in the world if I'm closer to my mission, so I jumped because when I was at Google, I was doing well-being work for the employees. And even though there are employees like myself who come from backgrounds where we don't have privilege, I knew we still had a certain level of privilege because we have lunch, dinner, salaries, and things like that.
Yeah,
But there are people out like in our cities and our communities that don't have all this and are struggling with their well-being. So I wanted to do work that was more closely going to reach the people outside of these corporate walls.
right.
Um, and my love and desire to do that, I think, pushed me and helped me make
To
that
jump.
jump. Mhm.
But were you afraid though? Like even with the things that you just listed, aligned for yourself and there as a resource for yourself,
Mhm.
were you would I guess like because that doesn't it helps, right? But
Yeah,
it helps alleviate the fear, but it doesn't eliminate it,
right.
right? So was it, I mean, at least for me, was the fear still there for you? And while feeling it and, going through the motions of like leaving, um, was it enough? Was the
Yeah,
desire and the passion of those resources enough to make the jump?
yeah. I think when I think about love, I also think about faith. And with the idea of faith, I'm not a religious person, but every time I talk to people, faith is like believing in something that you can't necessarily see,
Mm,
right? So I think when I think about love, like I have to believe this thing that I can't see yet is there on the other side of this fear. And that's just kind of what I just had to hold on to over and over. Like, yes, it was definitely still scary because I went from this like established big company to a startup that had only been around for a couple
yeah,
years. So even though it was like a solid salary, a cool title and stuff, like it was still not the most stable decision to make. But I had to believe that if I'm making a decision for the right reason, that even if it does fall apart, like it's gonna come back one way or another. So I
yeah.
think like believing in faith, believing in like karma to some extent, you
Mm,
know, like that it's going to come back to you in another way. But if you don't believe and you don't have faith, then you're always going to be a little scared.
mhm,
So I think for people who feel stuck in that fear, exploring your faith in whatever way that looks like for you,
mhm.
might be my advice to a person who feels a little bit stuck in that.
Got you. I was actually just talking to him about that the other day. We literally just talked about
How
that.
did y'all talk about it?
Well,
Right.
so we talk about religion a lot,
Mhm.
and spirituality,
Mhm.
and how that affects life. And the I think the reason why we discussed it this time is, um, I was reading the Bible, Judges 19, and something about that verse that speaks to me in regards to how someone should navigate life based off of um, rules that dictates what's good
Yeah.
versus you doing what you feel like is best.
Mhm.
You have to believe at some point that you don't know everything. Some people can be ego driven. And if you don't understand how naive you are as a person, sometimes you give yourself too much credit in choosing what's best for yourself. And that's when you need to rely on something that's bigger than you. And that's where faith comes in, right? The difference between, I think, my definition of faith and trust is different because trust is something that you have evidence in, that
Mhm.
you believe in.
Right.
Faith is more like this feels and seems good
Right.
and I don't have the time to confirm if my trust is valid.
Mhm.
And I also don't want to give the myself the authority based off of how I've been historically moving.
Mhm.
So although what I'm doing feels comfortable, the thing that I believe in feels good.
Mhm.
So I'm going to navigate through life this way.
Yeah.
So I do want to know the audience is going to be listening to this and they may, someone out there may be attempting to take a jump right now.
Yeah.
I know I am.
Mhm.
This is a jump for me.
Yeah.
And my jumps usually they don't come from taking a leap.
Mhm.
It comes from someone giving me a chance to step away and do work.
Mm.
So if you can give like someone who's listening just one additional advice to, how or why they should take the leap.
One thing that in my particular situation that helped me take the leap is knowing that I couldn't show up in my greater purpose if I didn't feel well myself. So I highly recommend for people to like assess their situation and take a leap, especially if their current situation is taking a toll on their health and well being. And that might not look like, physically sick, but it might look like mentally you're not as sharp, you're not as present when you're having dinner with your friends or family. I think that's when you really need to pause and think, okay, this is something that might be just like dueling my shine in the world. And I think that was for me something that was major that I realized like I was anxious every Monday as opposed to like looking forward to work or even neutral about it. And I felt like the stress that I have is making me less patient as a caregiver with my mom. I have less excitement about my workouts at the gym. I have less energy to be social with my friends. So I think knowing that that was taking a toll on my body, like I had to ask myself, is it worth it?
Right.
And I think a lot of people have to be really honest with themselves. Like, is the price that you're paying to be in your current situation to not take the leap worth it to you? And for some people, they'll say yes. Like, I would rather have the stability and be sad and
Yeah.
unfulfilled than be maybe a little more financially insecure. I wasn't willing to pay that price.
Mhm.
And I think that's a really personal question for everyone is like, is this worth it? And you're gonna eventually have to, like, do a lot of soul searching and digging to find the decision that is worth it to you.
Yeah, that's an amazing response. I'll add to it. I think the one thing that I would say to everyone is, um, you don't have to sacrifice it all at one time
Mhm.
to lead.
Yeah.
If this is something that you're truly passionate about, something that you really want to do, you find peace and happiness in doing it.
Yeah.
You have your evenings, you have your weekends. If you have a 40 um, hour a week type of job,
Mhm.
and that should be enough for you to start.
Yeah.
So with what you have, and that includes time as a resource, just start.
Right.
And when you get to a point where you're comfortable, um, comfortable enough to revisit that leap conversation with yourself,
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah.
You don't have to don't sacrifice everything
Right.
to leap. You can if you're comfortable.
Mhm.
Um, but take your time.
Right.
Take your time in making that decision.
I like that too, and I would also say, like, get creative because I think a lot of people thought that I woke up one day and was like, "I'm quitting my 9 to 5, Imma be good." But before I quit, I first assessed myself, like, "Is there anything that I could be doing differently? Are there, like, mindset changes that I can make so that I enjoy my work a little bit more?"
Mhm.
So I started with checking myself. My next step was I started thinking, okay, like who are the other people around me who are maybe making it such that I'm enjoying my work less and talking to those coworkers, talking to those managers in a constructive way to say like, hey, if we operate in this way, I can show up better as myself. If even after that I felt like things weren't working, okay, maybe it's not the whole organization that's an issue. Maybe it's my role. Like, can I change roles within the same organization? And like, I literally wrote up a job description, pitched a fresh job description. Did they say no? Yes. But I tried it, right? And then after that is when I started being like, okay, it's either like kind of navigate the current situation I'm in or make that leap. But I tried all of those things beforehand. I didn't just wake up one day and say that this wasn't for me. So maybe get creative and seeing if you can work with what you have
Yeah.
because to some extent the rules are made up, you know?
Yeah.
And sometimes you might be able to sit down and think about something that this organization can benefit from that uses your gifts, and they just didn't have a role for it yet, or no one offered to do it. So I completely agree with you that you can kind of start from where you are,
Mhm.
if not in the time outside of your 9 to 5, even within your 9 to 5, like seeing if there's work that you can do.
Yeah. You've also tried a lot of fitness avenues.
Mhm.
You've done everything. I mean, once again, outside looking in,
Mhm.
but it seems like you've done everything. Yoga, running, um, eh, I think I've swimming maybe
Yeah.
if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
There's just been so much in your life.
I did jujitsu for a bit. I got my
Yeah.
blue belt. Yeah.
You got your so you know how to fight.
A little bit.
Kick people. But yeah, it seems like you've just been doing everything and it also seems like you've been doing it for a long time as
Mhm.
well. Which is great. I have been doing fitness for a long time, but it's been by default.
Okay.
Athlete, it comes with the territory.
Mhm.
It's not. I'm not choosing fitness for fitness. I'm choosing fitness for. I want to go to the league.
Okay.
At some point, it becomes more than just a habit. It becomes a lifestyle. It becomes
Yeah.
something that I love.
Mhm.
Was it sports that led you to loving it as much as you do? And
Yeah.
has there been any obstacles in your life that made you want to go? I don't want to do this anymore.
Mm.
You know.
Yeah, I think it started with sports for sure, and I think the team aspect of sports is key for me because that's why now a lot of the times when you see me do things, I even with swimming, I go to this Atlanta based swim social group called like Fish Scales. I haven't been in a minute, but like when I do swim, I try to go with them. And with running, I'm with Hills or these other run clubs in the city. So it's my kind of opportunity to socialize. And sports started that because I wasn't good at
Yeah.
like track or cross country or anything, but being able to show up with a team and be around people and make friends and encourage each other and practice the art of like enjoying seeing other people win. You know, I
Yeah.
think you get that from being in sports because you can be proud of your teammate even if your race didn't go well. Seeing someone else's race going well like brings you joy. And I think that translated to being a personal trainer, like seeing people reach their goals and being proud of themselves getting stronger. I think all of that just kept reinforcing joy for me in
Yeah.
the fitness space. And then when my mom had her stroke, it became this like that was social health, I would say, with like team sports and athletics. But then the mental health part came in when my mom had her stroke, and I was really stressed about like how I could take care of her and make sure that my family was good. But the gym was a space where like I'm not directly helping someone else, I'm pouring into me, and that is helping me show up in these other spaces. So it's like me time that also helps others.
Mhm.
And I noticed that like on days where I didn't go to the gym first thing in the morning, I'd be crankier.
Right.
So it just
Right.
takes a certain level of self-awareness to like understand that my body likes this
Mhm.
and my body and my mind and my heart shows up better when I consistently have this practice. And the last thing I'll say about it is also related to my mom's stroke. So when she had it, she couldn't move the left side of her body after. So, like, imagine, like, one day, like, you're like this, you can get up and down in a chair, no problem, you roll out of bed, no problem, you can put on a fresh fit and loafers, no
Mhm.
problem. Like, my mom, like, we'll put a picture up, like, she's a baddie still to this day, but she'd be in heels, makeup, all of that, and then to wake up the next day and, like, not be able to move the left side of your body, like, half of your skull is removed to relieve the pressure from the stroke, like, that's a traumatic thing, and it made me realize you really can't take a single day for granted. Because it wasn't like she had pre-existing health conditions and then the stroke was, like, the last warning. She was good, she was exercising, drinking water, dancing, like, all of the things super active, and this just kinda happened out of nowhere. They think maybe because of stress, which is why, again, that mental health aspect is really big for me. But that's all to say that exercise is like a gratitude practice for me because I know that I can't take just being able to move both arms right now for granted, being able to sit here with you comfortably without pain for granted. And I feel like in exercising and taking care of my body, that's me saying, like, thank you for like this ability.
This opportunity.
Yeah.
Yeah. Was your mom's situation something that became an obstacle for you in regards to staying in the headspace of fitness and well-being, and also continuing to have the desire to do it?
Yeah, even when my mom was in the hospital, I knew that if I were to skip this workout, it's not gonna make me feel better. Like, if anything, it could contribute to resentment over time because I'm frustrated that I can't pour into myself because I have to take care of her. So, like, just putting 30 minutes, 20 minutes aside to do a workout on the hospital steps, I realized, like, made me feel just better
Mhm.
about whatever else I had to do in the day. And I also think about my exercise as being fairly functional. Like, of course, everyone wants to look good, but I do Zercher squats because if she needs me to carry her, I wanna be able to do that, and if I need to, like, push her wheelchair up a hill, like, that's a cardio workout,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah,
So,
absolutely.
that's where the running and everything else comes in, so, instead of being a barrier, like, being a caregiver has made me appreciate what exercise does for me personally, but I also see it as a way to make me a better caregiver and to continue to show up in all these other spaces better
That's
too.
that's that's amazing. I'm certain that she's proud of you.
Appreciate
Yeah,
that.
I just met you today, and I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
So, very impressive resume. And if I was a leader of a fitness community, I would reach out to you myself to some way somehow collab and get you involved in whatever things I have going on.
Thank you.
Um, but that's what you're doing now. You're
Mhm,
involved with Hills for Atlanta. You're
mhm.
doing wonderful work with the community. How did you connect with them?
I connected with them first by just being a pedestrian and showing up to the workouts. I was like, "This looks intense, but I wanna try it." And I've always loved HIIT workouts for some reason. For some reason, like, getting myself to the edge of, like, almost feeling like I'm dying makes me feel really alive. So I've always loved the high intensity stuff, and I saw this workout and I was like, "Let's try it." Like, I had to do hills for cross country practice, you know? Um So I went out and I loved it, and it became a weekly thing for me. I would always be at 7:30 a.m. hills. That's the hardest class, by the way, if anyone's curious and you want to challenge yourself. 7:30 a.m. Wednesdays. But I kept showing up consistently. I would thank AB because this space was free. Like, you can pay on the low end 20 bucks for a gym class these days, one off, right? So he was providing the space for free. I was meeting great people and I just felt so good after every workout. So I just kept coming. And I think maybe 2 years in, when AB was like, "Okay, I need some help,"
Mhm.
like it was going to be a lot for him to do every single class, and I think he wanted to spread the love. And he asked me to teach one step at a time on Mondays, and yeah, I've been rocking with them since then.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
You speak a lot about how team has affected you,
Yeah.
and watching your people win,
Mhm.
how that makes you proud, and it's special in regards to your lifestyle
Yeah.
and your connection with fitness and well being. I'm curious, how has this specific community been like influential in your life?
I think this community affirms for me that if you prioritize what people need and doing things out of love, you'll see growth out of that and worry about the money and maybe like the strategy afterwards, but at first show up with love and show up with the intention to provide people with what they need because I think that's what AB has done, right? Like the strategy, the paid membership, the parties, they came after. First, he was and still to this day, he's been prioritizing keeping these workouts free. And I think if you've asked him, like, the intention is always to keep the workouts free because we want community first to be able to have a way to take care of their health and well-being. And yeah, so I think he's affirmed that for me because he showed that you don't have to charge, 20 bucks a head in order to make a successful business. Like, he focused on the people, focused on building community. And now people, sure, if they want a membership, they can do that. If they want to go to the parties, they can, but they're going to show up to these workouts and he's going to receive support in other ways too.
Mhm.
Um, and I think, like, he's also shown that you can find money in other ways, right? Instead of charging the individuals who are already navigating bills and all this stuff, like, what if this Lululemon brand can sponsor,
Mhm.
Like, they want to be able to connect with folks too. So I think this community has also made me want to get creative about how I approach things. Like, if you don't have the capital now and you don't want to charge people, then, like, where else can the money come from? Because it's
Yeah.
out there,
Yeah.
Um, but first, if you focus on what people need and what kind of impact that you're trying to have, then the other stuff will kind of come after.
Yeah. That's a very impressive way to take on business, is to put the people first and to put the community first and then watch the rest happen after. Yeah. But what's also impressive is you.
Thank you.
I think your story is amazing. It gives me a different look um, on what taking the leap feels like
Mhm.
and can look like. And it also gives insight on what type of security one can lay
Yeah,
before taking it and navigating through life in that way. So your insights and also your advice is amazing.
well, I appreciate
Yeah,
it.
thank you. What's next for you?
Well, I really believe in that community aspect of just life, right? Because I don't believe that we were designed to go about this alone. So that's why a lot of my content lately has been talking about this thing called community care, where our personal well being is tied to the well being of others. And one thing that I'm really excited about is just figuring out how to encourage people to do that, to support each other and show up for each other in ways that our well being as a whole gets better. So I know that's super, like, abstract, but
Mhm.
I'm working on, like, basically like creating a platform that incentivizes people to do that in real life. So that's something that I'm really excited about. And this is year one of me being an entrepreneur, like, full time. So
Congratulations.
thank you. So I'm just kind of regularly taking it day by day to be like, do I like this? Do I want to go back to a 9 to 5 at a maybe mission aligned organization? I don't know yet. But right now, I'm just, like, so grateful that in making the leap, connections have allowed me to have contracts right now that actually, like, exceed the income that I was making at the job that I quit. So
That's what we want.
yeah, so I'm taking it kind of day by day and, like, seeing, okay, well, do I like the all the management that you do as an entrepreneur? And also excited to potentially, like, bring teammates on because at first, at the beginning of the year, I was like, okay, I have these contracts that maxes out my hours. I can't take on any more clients. But then I was like, oh wait, like, maybe I can bring people onto my team and then, like, grow a business from there. So maybe that's next in my future. And then definitely continuing to stay involved with Hills as long as AB will have me, and community, and figuring out creative ways to give people resources so that they can take care of themselves and one another. That's just always going to be things that I'm looking towards. Can I share one more piece of advice?
Absolutely.
Um, I think when talking about making the leap and navigating fear before making the leap, I want people to really not underestimate the power of their community because I even heard, like, Harold speaking life into you, right? But I've actually had, like, people lose their jobs around me and kind of, like, almost forget that, like, oh, I have a church community that has funds set aside to help me take care of bills. I have friends who have said, if you ever need anything, let me know. And I've had people reach out to me and I might not have much, but even, like, $50 towards a light bill is more than nothing.
Yeah.
And, like, we talk about exercise a lot, but the factor that, like, Harvard did this longitudinal study and looked at what actually keeps people living long, and it's strong social relationships. So if you are in a place of fear, like, also, like, check on your social health, and are you nourishing those relationships around you? Because when you know that people got you, then, like, you have less of that fear
Yeah,
because, like, God has blessed us with people who are gonna take care of us, as an extension of God. So, yeah, I think that's really special, and that's something that's been really helpful for me to feel like there are people who love me and, like, I'm even if it feels like quitting my job and, like, the street living on the street is, like, that this close, when I think about all these relationships and all these people and, like, there's a lot of love between me and, like, the worst case scenario that I imagine when taking leaps, and I want people to remember that, and if you have fear, then maybe that's a sign to look at, like, your faith and to look at your
right.
community and nourish those things so that your faith is bigger than your fear.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree. I tell people all the time that your emotions are a indication that something is happening,
Mhm.
whether it's good for you or bad for you.
Mhm.
So it's something that you should pay attention to.
Yeah.
So if there's fear inside of you and that's causing any type of anxiety, pay attention to it and
Yeah.
then analyze it to see what's the next best step for you. And
Yeah.
I think having a paying attention to a community that nourishes you is a great thing as well.
Mhm.
So thank you.
Yeah, thank
Thank
you.
you for doing this, Coach Wynn. I appreciate you for coming by and sharing your insights and your story. And I hope everyone that's listening chooses to benefit from it as well.
Yeah, I hope so too.
I
Thank you for
appreciate it.
having me.
Absolutely. Cheers.
Cheers.
You ever notice how starting a podcast sounds easy until you actually have to start one? Because suddenly it's not just talking anymore. It's planning topics, it's booking guests, it's dealing with vendors, editing hours of footage, remembering upload days, and trying to cut clips without losing your mind. At some point you're like, damn, I just wanted to talk. That's exactly why we work with Groove Studios. They make podcasting simple. I bring the idea, the personality, the conversation, and they turn it into an actual show. They help shape the concept, run the production, coordinate all of the moving parts, and make sure everything stays on schedule. I'm not chasing editors anymore, or trying to remember which version of the file I need to upload. It's too confusing. And after you're done recording, they take over completely. I'm talking editing, mixing, polishing the episodes, creating social clips, and organizing the posting schedule. They do it all. Honestly, it's the difference between having a podcast idea and actually running a podcast. If you got a podcast in your head, but not the time or the energy to manage it, let them do the work. Subject to availability, terms and fees may apply. Groove Studios. You talk, they handle the rest. You've been listening to The Writer's Corner. Executive producers, Rozier Dorson and Harold Coleman. This show is a Groove Media production for Groove Media, produced, edited, and brought to life by me, Rozier Dorson.